Good morning. My car's getting loud. No, this will actually be like my second time recording this because I was having trouble. Been having trouble sleeping. A lot of anxiety. Kind of a mixed bag of emotions, but so although there'll be some, if they see this, they're probably not going to know what I'm talking about. Others, they will. But so far, so good on my testing shit. So I didn't come up positive with anything. Other than, they did happen to find cannabis in my system. Oh no. But no, that's not what they're testing for. But no, so far I've tested negative on everything. Where for them, I do have concerns. By my gut, I already know where the outcome is going. It's just, I'm trying to be compassionate enough, because I do feel bad for them. They're completely responsible for the situation that they're in, 100%. But I do feel bad in the sense that they hit a rock bottom that it's going to affect them the rest of their life. And I do kind of, whether you're a self-aware, an aware, whatever you want to call it, or non-self-aware, and you might be questioning, or you're somebody who's with somebody that has narcissistic tendencies or is a narcissist. This situation is very much something that you could consider a classic one in essence, because I went through a lot of shit, and everybody goes through various forms of shit, but we all have something in common. We all deal with the gaslighting, and then when we start to respond to the gaslighting, then we get made out like we're crazy and abusive or selfish and just all this fucked up shit, and that abusive cycle just never ends until you're pretty much alone and you've got nobody. In my case, I lost everything. It started with kids and friends and family. Eventually I had to give up my home in hopes to end the cycle, as in I had to immediately leave my home the day after I knew she cheated on me, which she is now paying for. She's going to have to live with it the rest of her life, and I hope that she can find strength to not just learn from it. And granted, she's going to end up with some regular reminders, but she turns it into not just something to learn from, but something to teach, so that other people don't make these same mistakes. When you're with somebody that you really love, you got to remember that the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's greenest where you water it. And some people forget that, there are people out there like in Nevada and other places where they spray paint their grass green so it looks like it's been watered. But really, it hasn't been. No, I still love that. I still love her, but I realize that even though there's still some trauma bond there, I've more or less have broken it. I still love that woman. It sounds bad when I say that woman, but I still love her. I do forgive her. I don't think I could ever... Well, I just don't think the ability to fully trust again is going to be there. And in all honesty, it's not fair for me or her to be in a situation where you're in a position where you're with someone you can't fully trust no matter how hard you try, and they don't deserve to be in a situation where they're with somebody who doesn't have the ability to trust them again and complete. It's kind of a duality there. It's like, granted, they may have spent all that time second guessing you, spend all that time dismissing you, stonewalling you, isolating you, alienating you, treating you like shit, manipulating you, all this other crap. Yeah, they may be responsible for a lot of things, just like we are too. And part of that was not putting our foot down when this toxic shit began. And in the end, it started to cause us to become kind of toxic in a sense, because we're always on guard now. We always have our defenses up, and we know that anytime we try to communicate something, we're just going to be met with some sort of resistance that will inevitably end with us being accused of all we want to do is argue and fight. I don't wish any bad to happen on her, and in all honesty, regardless of what happens, no matter what, I'm gonna love her. And a lot of things are gonna weigh on some stuff, but right now I feel like there's been so much damage that even though it hasn't necessarily damaged that love I have for her, just like it's with my ex-wife, I still love her like I did the day I said I do. It's just I had to learn to kind of live with that and make more room. I just don't stop loving people, and that's just how it is. I just learned that some people I can't be with, or they can't be with me, or whatever, because of whatever reason, personalities or what we want in life might be very different things, or they might still want to be out having fun, where I might want to actually be able to settle down and start cleaning up some of my bullshit, and including I want to quit smoking, I'd like to finally do that for once. And that's a lot of it is stress and anxiety based. And that's the same thing with the cannabis. I want to find other ways I want to be able to stop utilizing it so much, to be honest. But the cigarettes, that's the primary thing I really want to quit. And I just, on top of it, I need to be able to continue to focus on having a decent, finding my next home, and planning on, my, what kind of business I'm going to open. Because, I'm keeping my options open. I'm looking at cost to start, and run, and what the profit margins are, in comparison of one to the other, all that stuff. I'm kind of just doing all that little bit of homework here and there. Yet, admittingly, with this recent stuff that I've been dealing with over the last couple weeks at this point, it has distracted me, and I can't say necessarily in a good way, but, I just feel like I've gotten to the point that, yeah, I'm going to still hurt for a while. I'm still going to have my trust issues. I still... I have a lot of trust issues when it comes to a lot of people. Excuse me. And it'll take, in essence, very specific, it just really depends on the person that I will willingly allow myself to let my guard down with. And, there's a couple friends and some others that I hope understand that I've been realistically trying to do that. I may not come around and visit very much and just kind of live like a hermit most of the time, or keep to myself. But a lot of it is I've dealt with a lot of stuff, and I don't really like... It's hard for me to go to somebody's place that really doesn't quite understand what I've dealt with. They might understand certain aspects or situations, but overall, it's like they don't really... I don't think they really understand the impact that it does, not just on your brain, but just overall, your emotions, your willpower, your confidence, your just all of it. And it's like, for me, being on spectrum, it's hard enough to put on a mask at times to try and try and be normal for most people out there in public. It's that much harder when I'm dealing with a lot more things on top of it. And so I have to try and find some sort of logical means of coping And like a lot of that has been between the phototherapy stuff that I do on my own, which is done when I go on my walks a lot of times. And so, stopping at the Get and Go before I go to Subway Eat Fresh. But no, I've just grown tired. I just know that with what's going on with them medically and where that's going, it's gonna be another, granted, to a degree they deserve it. Yeah, I sympathize with them on what's going on, but I have to let them take responsibility and accountability for the choices and actions they made. All I can do is be supportive and seeing them, hopefully face it and get through it the same way I have had to with situations in the past where I've made the wrong decision, even in moments that there's, regardless of what I explain to anybody and what's happened around a couple situations, even when my own attorneys and other people flat out explain to me, like, look, you've been abused really badly and that's what led to this, I still can't justify my one action. I just can't do it. It still bothers me, and anytime I go to try to talk about it in detail, it does bother me, because that's not me. I spent a long time trying to get my mind back on some level of track after, those 2 years of being stuck on the fucking dope, and then dealing with all that shit and everything else that I've dealt with throughout the years. Only to, go to sleep one night, my wife's there, and the next moment I'm waking up, next moment I remember I'm puking in a blue bag, and then the next moment I'm waking up somewhere else with the doctor staring at me, and I'm looking at him like, what the fuck's going on? And then next thing you know, a nurse knocks on the door, comes walking in, Jason, your wife's here. And I'm going, my wife's here? I'm going, okay, I want to know what's going on. And I get up, and it's not my wife, it's my current ex. And portraying herself as my wife. So I had my head fucked with really bad through all that, and I have no idea what really happened. And even though I have questions and all that about certain things, like during that time period, I've moved past that. Yet, like with this, I've come to find that I'm moving past this as well. It's just, I've realized that I had my reality like messed with really bad for a good 12 years there. Like really bad. And so it's like, everybody that was kind of immediately involved, whether there was any type of bad intent or not, it's the idea that given what has all happened and what's gone on over the last few years and how this finally kind of collapsed, it affected every relationship around me, friendships, all that. And it's because I withdrawn from a lot of people. It's really hard when you don't have a lot of people that you can relate to in a sense of, I think everybody's been in some form of relationship where it was all give and no take. If that's only like one part of being in a very narcissistically abusive relationship, and it can destroy you as a person if you don't get away from it soon enough. Otherwise, you find it harder and harder to find yourself again. And like the things that used to make you really happy or you enjoy, you start to lose that ability to find joy in that again, because it's like your spirit's been broken, your mind's been broken. Almost everything about you gets broken down. In the process, you're losing everything while you're being blamed for all the problems, and they're gaining all this attention, and they utilize you as a scapegoat to seek attention from other people. whether it's sympathy, attention, sexual attention, or any form of attention. You become a scapegoat and the tool that fuels their need for whatever it is that drives them, for whatever attention it is that they want. They get mad at you. Okay, well, I'm going to go out and talk shit, and then I'm going to turn around and go and seek attention from another man or woman. And it's like, are you serious? This shit breaks you down, and you kind of ignore some of a lot of red flags because you keep telling yourself, this person does love me, but you realize that they keep throwing you away all the time. Or they make you feel like you're wanted to get you back, and they put this effort in for a little bit, but then immediately they flip over to they need you to give them all this attention, and then every time something bad happens, you have to do all this stuff. But anytime something bad happens to you, it's like there's no energy. It's like they don't give a shit. It's like if they hurt you, there's no remorse. If you're hurting, there's just really no sympathy or anything like that. But they demand all that in return. So it's like I've kind of had to look at everything I've gone through. And it's like, I still love that person. And I loved her before she became this. Because there's been that much time. It's just with whatever happened to sort of create this person, whether they want to blame childhood neglect or what their ex-husband did, to me that's not justification to go abuse somebody. And in all the abuse I've dealt with, I don't understand why, could I use all that as a justification to not only become a narcissist, but can I use it to abuse people? I don't think so. I'm trying to learn from it, even though it hurts. And it's like I'm at that point. I'm trying to I'm keeping concern for them on their health and being supportive and everything that's going on there. And I'm trying to be a friend, even when most people who are in my shoes would say, "Fuck that! You never want to be a friend of." I have not just some boundaries up. Things are in a way that it's almost nearly impossible to allow things to continue. Down to even God sort of put his foot into the center of things. Because for things to continue, my health would definitely be put at risk, and it can't be put at risk anymore. Like that, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but I want her to hopefully find the happiness that she really needs in life. And I'm always going to be supportive of that. It's just, I'm at the point, even though there isn't anybody else and all that right now, I'm just ready to move on with my life, move on to a new home, focus on a business, and, if God grants it, then yeah. I'm still focusing on the self-healing, and I'm still focusing on just what I got to do next, because since having to leave my home and immediately putting it up for sale back in June, I've basically been homeless for the last 4.5 months now. I've just been staying with family, and I've definitely overstayed my welcome and all. And plus I just don't want to keep staying there. I just sit in this little room. I just lock myself in that room basically. And then the only time I really leave is if I have to come to town like now. Or I get out to go for walks every now and then. And then other times it's to go down to the house. But I only have one more trip left to go down there, and that's to get the generator and stuff like that. No, I just also want to be careful about what I say, because I do have flying monkeys that watch my channels, and they utilize it, yeah, and they'll take anything they can to to turn it into something else or to use it like a weapon. So it's like I am careful about it. And I'm also careful about, any other people. I'm just careful about what I talk about. So I mean, down to moving, where I'm moving to and all that stuff. I keep a lot of that, in a sense of people know I'm going to move. When, where, they won't find any of that out till it's already said and done. And on the where, they may not know where that's going to be at all. I mean, I'm looking at starting over. I'm tired with all the crap, and I'd like to really actually have some genuine stability in my life for once. I gave my all to somebody who couldn't recognize it and was giving their all to other people, and it really made me question even my worth and my value and all that. I mean, I can look at old vids and pictures of myself from even 10 years ago, and I'm not the same person anymore. Like, I got hurt really bad, and I just don't know how to explain it. I mean, it was just in such a way that plenty of tears off and on. But it's one of those wounds that it's so fucking deep, it's really hard to explain. And so, I mean, if I go back 2-3 months ago, I was in a lot worse situation than I am now. Like, I was a wreck, and I still am a wreck for most part. It's just even with the more recent news, this bullshit, like, most people probably freaking out right now, and like, I kind of just found myself so emotionally overwhelmed that I just don't have it in me anymore. It's like, okay, what's next? I mean, pretty much bring it on at this point, because it's like, it's what I've sort of become to expect at this point, and I just want things to get better. I have some dreams that I still would like to at least try and chase, and they're not huge dreams, I don't think. I want to be able to work for myself, so that I don't have to worry about working in a place where I'm rubbing people the wrong way, and I have to worry about quitting my job or getting fired because I'm awkward, or I don't vote the way people want me to vote, or some bullshit. It's just always something. It's like, I don't vote based on party, and I'm just not about that. I don't care who you vote for, anything like that. That's why I don't talk about that shit anymore, and all that. It's not really a center of any of my subject matter like it used to be. Yeah, I used to be a big time Trump supporter, and I just got to the point I realized, it's like, all this stuff is done to just feed a lot of hate, and I lost a lot of friendships because of that hatred, and it was from both sides, and even myself, I cut off a couple people because it was like, no, this ain't gonna work out. And it's like, I kind of realized, like, all that hate that has been fed, what's it done? And I'm just tired of feeding that hate and feeding into it, and it's like, no, I'm just ready to go somewhere, find a new home where it might be a little quieter, not in such a big city, but in at least a decent enough town that I can start a business in and grow it there, and hopefully find happiness again. I mean, I'm trying not to live a life where I look back and have regrets. I try to look back and say I had a lot of lessons, and I've learned from them big time. Even things that weren't from my own doing, whether it's being a victim or being the dumbass, decides to go and deal with depression the wrong way. So, I mean, I'm looking to change life for the better, especially when I don't necessarily expect myself to necessarily live past 60, I mean, that's my NF. So I don't really have a choice in that part. I'd like to get healthier again. I'd like to be happier again, and I'd like to be able to hopefully, like, see some other places of the world than just Oregon, or through pictures, or from a train window. I'd like to be able to, like, go somewhere and build a life for once. So, and I just hope when it comes to that person, I really hope she gets better, and I hope that no matter what, she understands I'm always going to be there for her. I'm going to do my best to, at times I'll try to help where I can here and there, but I can't give much more of myself to somebody who gave themselves to others so much that they ended up with presents that they didn't really want. So, thanks for watching. I gotta run in the market, and then I'm gonna go grab a sandwich. I'm late.